Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. I hope that everybody is having a wonderful week so far, and we are getting ready to close it out nicely with our Weekly News Roundup, and we are still slightly tweaking and modifying the show platform. So just as a reminder, if you are coming back to the show after a little bit of absence, we're not getting into the comments quite yet. We're going to dive right on into the news. We'll take a 5-minute comment break after I finish 3 main news articles. Then we'll do a bunch of QuickLines, SillyVille, Feed the Kitties, and then I will hang out until the comments run dry. I think we were on like 3 hours last week. It was fun. It got into fun, crazy religious discussions. But, you know, I try and keep that out of the main show unless it's specifically relevant. Anyway, basic updates. We did do a test of the Starlink dish yesterday. I drove out to a place with no cell signals, popped up the dish, fed it into my whole network, and it worked wonderfully. So I didn't do any testing with streaming. We are going to test that. I might see if I can find a time to test that next week. So stay tuned for that. Probably sometime during the weekday. I might just do a testing. Let's test Starlink, and I also want to test my backup microphone systems in the event this guy goes bust on the road and it takes me a little bit to get a microphone. Basically, I want to test some of my other systems. We know the alternative streaming system works. I don't know. I might do it from the alternative streaming system anyway. Who knows? But anyway, we are going to get on into the news, and we will start in by just reminding everybody there is a link in the description to a page on my website. This has all of the articles that we are covering today in roughly the order we are covering those. So in the event you are curious as to where the references are, they are always in there, and they've always have been there. It's just some people generally ask for that. If you want to help support the channel while you're on the website, switchedtolinux.com/support will land you over on our support page. We have a list of affiliates. You can support us through Subscribestar, Locals, or Patreon. And of course, you can use everything from our Amazon link is down there. We have Mint Mobile, A2 Hosting, which is now hosting.com, and a few other things there as well. So that is how you can help support the channel if you would like to do that. And with that, we are going to dive right on into our news, and we are going to start with the web censorship first. And to get into the web censorship, I really want to start by having a look at, really, this is what we're getting at here is we're seeing a lot of DNS blocking and other means of censoring the internet starting to pop up in the EU. And there's even a bill that has been introduced into a United States Congress now to do effectively the same thing. But this all goes back to the Great Firewall of China. Now, there's a more pithy governmental name for this, but of course, since China is generally known for the Great Wall of China, and now they're actually blocking everything, and a firewall is what's used for that, obviously, now we call it the Great Firewall of China, because they do seriously amounts of data to work to keep their citizens on some data. So I kind of wanted to start with just a Britannica article here, just a little bit about that to bring you up to speed and why some of us might have a little bit of a problem with this. So the development of it, so in the 90s, this is really when this happened, of course, when the internet was becoming a thing. While Chinese leaders understood the potential value the internet could provide by granting greater access to global markets and technologies, they were reluctant to jeopardize their authority and control. Isn't it interesting? Now, this is a time when the Chinese party was way, way more authoritarian. Now, if you, I don't know how much we got into it, but a long time ago, I was doing some philosophical discussions on this channel. We're going back 5 or 6 years, and we covered, I think we did it on this channel, we covered the book, The Lucifer Principle. And in that book, one of the chapters really did discuss how the current Chinese regime happened. And it really did start with youth revolutions, which is effectively the same model they're trying to do in the United States today. They are trying to cause an authoritarian regime control change in America, utilizing the same situation situation that they did in China. And it all is at the hands of an authoritarian government. And what the Chinese government saw back in the 90s is that if people have free flow and free exchange of ideas, they could lose a portion of that authority and control. So isn't it kind of funny that many nations, United States, EU nations and things, always look to China and go, oh, how bad they are, evil, bad, authoritarian. Yet we are marching lockstep doing the same exact things that they did decades ago and showing how it caused deep censorship, all because we're just like, oh my God, we got to protect the children. Or actually in the United States case, it's, oh my God, we got to protect the rights holders of the movies and the music, which is... I mean, at least sitting here and saying this is to protect the children, at least you look like you have a moral compass. When you're like, you got to protect the Motion Pictures Association of America, or the whatever is the music one, is it RIPP? I don't know. Recording Industry of America, whatever it is. If that's the entire basis of the laws of the United States, we got to have these instantaneous censorship laws. Piracy, it's kind of like interesting. So the project sought methods to control and monitor citizens' activity and prevent people from reaching websites that did not conform to the Chinese government's strict policies. So on the heels of this, the UK keeps on, or not UK, EU keeps on trying to add these encryption backdoors. The latest one has also failed. However, there will be a 6-month, and I don't know how the EU presidents go along, but they're going to be shifting over to a new president for like 6 months, and that president is all over this encryption backdoor stuff. So the thoughts are that he's going to try and push it. I can't remember if that's anywhere else in our news this week, but it is something I read this week. So the key tactics of the internet control included filtering keywords, blocking select foreign websites and apps, and blocking IP addresses from certain regions. By law, the Great Firewall prevents users from accessing content that may incite political resistance of any kind or would reveal state secrets. So through the tactic known as domain name system poisoning, DNS poisoning, for example, the government can instruct its internet service provider companies to block or redirect DNS queries sent to banned websites. So the Great Firewall has created a captive market of isolated users in China who are left with no choice but to use the domestic alternatives to the blocked international sites. And so that's really what this is about. And what we're seeing, unfortunately, is this giant push for this in many other nations. This DNS system is mentioned in the new United States bill as well. So DNS resolvers aren't a censorship tool. Experts warn against the risk of growing internet blocking. So they're looking at this. And now let me be clear here before we dive into this any deeper. DNS blocking is very powerful if you are doing it personally. I mentioned the Starlink at the beginning of the show. From the Starlink app, you can actually toggle the button on for family-friendly Starlink. Now, Starlink is using the 1.1.1.1, which is Cloudflare's DNS system, to route the router, which you can change. That's just the default. But in Cloudflare, there is a setting where you can set a setting that will block potential malware sites, and it will block adult websites and things like that. So you can easily toggle that on, and your Starlink will do a pretty good job of keeping bad stuff off your internet. So that's kind of the way it works. So if you're using that personally to control what's in your own home, because that's what responsible parents do, you have all these guys like, you can't possibly prevent your 17-year-old from seeing whatever on the internet. Yes, you can. He's 17. He's in your house, and it's better that you take the front on the front end and approach it appropriately. Now, there's times, and yeah, you're not going to protect him for the rest of your life, but when you set a precedent of doing good, he will hopefully carry that on. But even if he doesn't, he's going to look back and go, my parents were right, when he's sitting in his own fodder. Okay, and that's really what the challenge is. So it is awesome if you're using DNS blocking yourself. Now, the other thing about this, if they're using a DNS blocking route on us, the citizenry, it really only blocks the normies, because a DNS system is easily thwarted by anything you do DNS related in your router or on your personal device, which means we will see dark web places on the internet which will list lists of IP addresses for the sites they're trying to block, and all you need to do is manually add those back into your system, and you'll be able to access those sites just fine. It's just your internet provider won't be able to get them to you with by the standard defaults, or nor will Cloudflare, Quad9, the Google DNS services if you're using any of those. But what's going on though is that they're using this, among other things, to censor the web. So, from halting online dissent and illegal content to copyright infringement and child safety, governments worldwide have been increasingly turning to blocking practices that target the core internet infrastructure to pursue their policy goals. The group wants to shed light on what it describes as an alarming trend of governments across the world weaponizing DNS resolvers and even the best VPN services as enforcement tools. So DNS resolvers are neutral infrastructure, not censorship tools, the experts are warning. But this is really what authoritarian governments and governments that are turning increasingly authoritarian are actually doing. As the report shows, internet blocking tactics span from DNS-based restrictions, IP-level enforcement, and even AI-driven filtering. Nonetheless, experts highlight DNS blocking as the most widely used mechanism. So the U.S. is also debating a bill to employ similar blocking methods, mostly against copyright infringement, because, the United States, we don't care about the children. We got to protect the recording industry and the movie industry from pirates. Arrgh! So Dawson is now urging global community to help push back with evidence and clarity by documenting the incidents. You can do so by heading to I have no idea what it is. This is the website. DNStricks.org. So they're basically collecting case studies, looking at the various places this is done and things like that. But I did want to talk about the United States one. So this is from the EFF. So in this, now this is kind of like an advancement of the SOPA and PIPA bills that failed about a decade ago. And I believe we've actually talked about those in the channel when the channel was first starting up. So these bills would have allowed the government and copyright holders to quickly shut down entire websites based on allegations of piracy. Like, you don't even have to be doing it. You just have to allege that it's being done, and they'll just shut you down. And then, of course, the way these systems work, good luck finding a human being that you can talk to about clarifying it. Yeah, that's kind of the case. So the new proposals will let rights holders get federal court orders forcing ISPs and DNS providers to block entire websites based on accusations of infringing copyright, which means it's highly, highly weaponized. Just look at the copyright system in YouTube. Anybody can come in and make a copyright claim. Now, the only advantage of it is if you go in to do the copyright claim, and it's like the only recourse if somebody copyright claims a video is to shoot back, and then they would have to come in and actually file a case. If they don't, YouTube is supposed to reinstate the video. But one of the ways people are doing it is they're utilizing this copyright system simply in order to demask people. One example I thought of is the artist who releases the music under the name Enigma. That person actually wanted to remain completely anonymous. And he would have, except he sampled in one of his songs. I think it was on the Cross of Changes album. One of the things that he dubbed in ended up being copyrighted, and somebody filed the copyright notices. In order for him to defend himself at all and save the entire project of Enigma, he had to de-anonymize himself in order to fight it in the court of law. That's the only reason we know who the person is. And so this is the type of stuff that people can use in order to demask people, particularly activists or other people wanting to remain anonymous in some other sense. So the copyright system has been abused and is continuing to be abused. We need serious overhauling of the copyright system. And by the way, I am not for abolishing copyright. There should be no copyright. I'm sorry, you are asking to kill progress if there's no copyright. But we do need to have sane copyright. An individual person should have the copyright on something for at least a large portion of his life, if not a little past his death. As far as corporations, yeah, we need to set specific time frames for corporation copyright. After this, it needs to be done. So that's the case there. Now, what they're basically doing, though, with this is they're building an internet kill switch, because it starts here. Oh, this is a bad site. Well, let's just block that too. And then we're going to see these constant on-off switches for every element, and this is what causes the authoritarianism to happen in. And so site blocking doesn't work well, never will. So today, many websites are hosted on a cloud infrastructure or use shared IP addresses. Blocking one target can mean blocking thousands of unrelated websites. So that's actually good. Site blocking is both dangerous and blunt, and trivially easy to evade. Determined evaders can create the same content on a new domain within hours, and users who want to see blocked content can fire up a VPN or change a single DNS setting to get back online. So it's shocking that Congress is on the verge of forcing Americans to rely on the same workarounds that the internet users in authoritarian regimes must rely on just to reach mislabeled content. So site blocking silences speech without a defense. The First Amendment should not take a back seat because giant media companies want the ability to shut down websites faster. And so this bill is already on the table. More bills are coming. And the question whether lawmakers remember what happened the last time they tried to pass this mess is up for debate. Now, I did mention that this is actually a very effective way of blocking things on a local network. And effectively, the most local way that you do this is by editing the host file on your computer, which you can do on Windows, on Mac, and on Linux. Well, I hope you can still do it on Windows. I don't know. Microsoft might be involved in all sorts of nonsense to stop that and that stuff. I don't know. They don't want, you don't own your computer if you're running Windows. Come on, that's their computer. But anyway, if you want to, basically the host file is effectively a file on the computer which decides where things are rooted. And so if you were to pull up your basic host file, you probably just have something that looks similar like this. There's 127.0.0.1 localhost. So that's where if you see the geeky computer jokes, and so somebody's like, hey, what's your address to some computer geek? They say 127.0.0.1. Okay, that's the default home location of a computer. That basically tells a system, go to this home-based computer right here and execute whatever you're trying to do. Now, if you want to modify this in Linux, and this is actually the same way on Mac as well, you want to run sudo nano etc hosts or use whatever of your editors there. I know half you guys are going to write, use Vim, that's fine. You can use Vim. Those of us with, better things to do than spend our entire lives figuring out how to use an obscure text editor will use nano. I know, I'm starting a fight. That's okay. Don't worry. Anyway, just use some editor that you can use in the terminal and run etc and hosts. All right, so enter your password, and then you can find your list, and then you can enter the IP address and then the name. So in this host file here, what they're doing is they're blocking Facebook. So you can see 127.0.0.1 www.facebook.com and facebook.com. Both of those sites, if you go to facebook.com on this computer, it will simply, instead of going out and finding the DNS registry and going to the Facebook server, it will go right back into your home system and fizzle. So that will block Facebook from that local computer. And then he is saying, okay, so dev.linuxize.com is going to this server here. So this is either some private or some test server, whatever else. I use this feature a lot when I'm building websites for people. It allows me to build out the website on the same exact domain they are using on an internal development server, so I can do all the testing I need with everything in there. And then what happens is we can push it live by just taking the code and duplicating it on their server. But this allows me to use my local dev server instead of the server on the internet. Now on the host file, you need to go into the Windows key, open up Notepad. You need to run it as an administrator, turn off all that AI crap that they've crapped in there. Anyway, you want to open up Windows, System32, drivers, etc hosts, and you want to do the same edits to whatever you're doing there and save the changes. Again, remember, you have to run that as an administrator. Now, again, modern versions of Windows, who knows? It might say, you can't modify this file. This is our computer. I have no idea what Windows 11 is going to do, all right? I'm just telling you the last time I did this in Windows 10, that's what it did. Of course, in Mac, they're telling you the same thing. It's the same spot, etc hosts. And so sudo nano etc host from the terminal emulator in Mac will get you there. They actually have another section there to flush the DNS cache. I've never actually had to do that when I've done this on a Mac. But that is how you can control your local host file. But then there's other resources out there. So Pi-hole actually works by managing all of these DNS type routes for you on your local network. So you set up Pi-hole either on a Raspberry Pi, on a spare computer, something like that. And then you go into your router and you tell your router to use the Raspberry Pi as your DNS server. And you can do that, and then you can do custom block scripts, you can do automated block script updates, you can do all sorts of cool stuff with it. And if you're not quite sure how to do that, I have a tutorial on the website under the tutorials tab about setting up a Pi-hole on a Raspberry Pi. And we walk through all of the various steps that you need to do to get that going. And so hopefully that works. And I should probably review that sometime soon. This is now about a 5-year-old tutorial now, so that might be up to date. Now, if you're like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do all that, but I kind of like the idea of what we're doing here. I have been using NextDNS for a little over a year now on my Graphene OS phone, because the Graphene OS phone does not allow me to modify the host file as Lineage does. I'm actually utilizing NextDNS in order to run effectively the same blocking script. Only it does actually work a little bit better. So NextDNS, it is free up to a certain number of resolves per month. I usually fall well within that because I'm not addicted to my phone and I don't use it for much more than just doing news stuff. But this actually allows me to do a whole lot of custom building. It allows me to keep logs or not keep logs. So keeping logs is good. If you got kids, you can throw it on here and you can actually see a log of everything they go to. You can block certain websites. There's all sorts of cool stuff that you can do. And this is super, super simple. You just go over to their site, sign up for the service. If you want more than that minimum gives you, you need to pay for like a monthly fee. It's fairly reasonable. And then what they're going to do is they're actually going to give you some instructions for all of your various devices, allowing you to do this. So blocking with DNS is really good if it's your own system, and it's really bad if it's the government forcing it on you by a means of crazy censorship. And so we really want to impress on you that it is very important that you take these honest steps and looking at this without saying, oh, this is entirely bad altogether. It is when the authoritarian government is doing it. It is not when you are doing it for yourself. But even if you are in a place where the authoritarian government is doing it, you can use these other systems as a means to get around those DNS blocking sites. So that is certainly a way that you can do things. Of course, you got to watch if they're sniffing on all the data coming into your system, because they are authoritarian after all. But anyway, moving on to our second main feature here, non-U.S. businesses are leaving U.S. cloud-based businesses particularly. Now, there's a little bit of back and forth about why, and, of course, all of your standard left-leaning articles are like, it's all Donald Trump's evil craziness. If you thought Donald Trump was even crazy, you should have seen the silent global cabal that was running it when Biden was in office. He wasn't the ones making the decisions, guys. And this is actually no longer like crazy conspiracy. Where's my tinfoil hat? This is like a matter of established legal fact at this point in time, by the way. Not to get political here, but there are multiple reasons. Donald Trump, yes, could potentially be a reason. He is the one that pushed the Cloud Act in the first administration, and he does seem to be doing things which lean towards it, because the Republicans and the right in America are absolutely wrong on nearly everything related to tech. Now, it doesn't mean I won't vote for him, because there's other more important issues, but at the same time, we have to look over the whole thing. These guys are clueless on technology, and their approach to deregulate things for business allows businesses to continue doing anti-consumer practices. And this is where Louis Rossmann has a really, really good point, that we need to fight back for consumer rights because of the things that they are doing. And so whether it's political or related to these presidents, or whether it's just the fact that United States is indeed a wild, wild west of privacy laws or lack thereof, the UK and EU businesses are becoming a little bit more leery of US services. And actually, there was another article that came out today after I had everything all ready to go, but another EU country, and I forget which one, they are ditching the US companies as well. Somebody might find that and throw that in the comments there, but this is kind of what we're seeing. Non-U.S. businesses want to cut back on using U.S. cloud systems. So UK IT leaders apparently don't trust big American tech when it comes to the cloud. So more than 3 in 5 UK IT leaders say the country's government should stop using U.S. cloud services due to security and economic reasons, with many citing ongoing trade war-induced tariffs as a core concern. So nearly half, 45%, are actively considering repatriating from the cloud as they turn back to environments that they can have more control over. And so more likely to move away from the U.S. providers. They're basically saying that some of it is cost, some of it is our privacy data. So looking at all these, of course, the top 3, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, account for 2/3 of the cloud market. And data sovereignty ranking second to price as an influencing factor. So some of it is price, some of it is the data collection and the privacy concerns. And so we're kind of seeing more people move away from these. And there is an open letter there in the EU calling for a stronger commitment to sovereign digital infrastructure. And again, I can't do highlights on PDF documents, so I don't have anything specifically highlighted. But effectively, this is a number of EU and UK industry partners that are coming together to say, hey, maybe we need to have national sovereignty. And by the way, guys, before if you're not mad enough in the political discussion, because I'm not really taking serious sides here. The platform that Donald Trump has is a national American first, which is a good thing for Americans. Okay, EU is looking at a EU nationalized approach, which is good for the EU. I think every country should mostly lean on their own country for all of their absolute critical needs, going to the other countries for the things that are fun or spice up life or things like that. And so I'm not mad that Donald Trump wants to make America first in American life, because that's good for Americans. But I'm also not mad if the EU wants to do a very similar thing. Now, where EU has a really, really good advantage is all of the amazing stuff, which is privacy respecting, is all in the EU. Wouldn't you know it? Because the EU actually does care about privacy, unlike America, and that's why this open letter is here. Europe needs to recover the initiative and become more technologically independent across all layers of critical digital infrastructure. From logical infrastructure, applications, platforms, and media, AI frameworks and models, to physical infrastructure, chips, computing, storage, and connectivity. Europe's current multiple dependencies create security and reliability risks, compromise our sovereignty, and hurt our growth. So he's basically saying that they want the UK and EU, basically non-US, to really focus on itself, stop relying on US and on China in order to do that, and mostly just turning as many services as possible. So I did want to go ahead and let you guys know that they do have a point, and even though I am American, I am not interested in the American services. I do not use Google Cloud Services. I do not use Microsoft Cloud Services, AWS Cloud Services. I did use AWS Cloud Service at one point in time for some of my servers, but then I switched over. I think is Akamai and DigitalOcean. They might actually be United States companies. I think they are. So those are kind of where I'm using my infrastructure. I have really good relationships with both of those companies, and I like what they do. But let me go ahead and show you some options. Nextcloud, this is the premier one, and this is actually the one that I use personally. I have a self-hosted Nextcloud that I use. I use this to manage all my contacts, all my calendars, all that kind of stuff is all done on Nextcloud. I can do files. Even Ivan, who helps the channel out here with a lot of things, we pass files back and forth on my Nextcloud instance so that we can collaborate more quickly. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do. You can self-host it, and there are actually some private and some enterprise hosting type stuff over here. So if you are like, okay, I kind of want it, but I'm just not confident enough to host it, you can go into any one of these platforms that they have, and you can pick one up. They also have providers for enterprise as well. So if it's a big company and you're interested in getting a bigger, beefier system. Now, of course, what I like is if you want to help out the channel, you can go to DigitalOcean using my affiliate code, which is on the Switch to Linux support page. You can go on over there, and there is a all-in-one Nextcloud, one click, boom, set that up for your whole family. It is an amazing, fully functioning Nextcloud, and that system works out pretty well. That's the easy way to do it. I'm actually doing a little bit harder way, but my way tends to work for me. So whatever that works. Proton is an awesome source as well. Proton is based in Switzerland. Well, at least for now. There's been some discussions that Switzerland is trying to do a law that makes it worse than a combination of, the United States and Russian were to inbreed. That's what Switzerland's trying to do. Proton said that if that happens, they're leaving the country. But for now, it is a very good system that does documents, it does VPNs, mail, it does calendars, contacts, things like that. So it is actually a very good service as well. And Disroot is the preferred service for Ivan. And Disroot is Netherlands-based. I think it's Netherlands-based. And they are basically a group that merges all of these various really cool open source platforms into singular accounts. So the cloud on theirs is a Nextcloud instance. The email, I'm not sure what their email is using. They're using Pastebins. They're using CryptPad. We talked about that one more recently. And then there's just a number of other tools, all based on privacy and security. So Disroot is a good place. They do have free accounts that you could use. They're very limited in their space, but then you can purchase more space based on what you need. So those are very good options if you are considering moving into the cloud infrastructure yourself, because the EU and the UK have a very good point. And that very good point is that United States big tech companies collect way too much data, and it's better if you have a way to do a lot of your critical infrastructure without such data. And so it's good to go ahead and use those individual services. And I do have several tutorials on setting up Nextcloud, by the way, if you are interested in that. And now moving on to our third main topic of the day, and this is the AI invasion. AI is cramming itself everywhere, but many people, in fact, you know, I really only know one person that's super enthused about AI. I know a lot of people that tinker and play with it, and I know a whole lot more people that are kind of like, I really don't want this crap shoved in my face, but shove it in our face they are. Now, some of these are fine. Some of your modern Android phones can automatically adjust battery performance to how you're doing things. They can automatically adjust your charging to your batteries. These are AI type things built into phones, which are just fine. Okay, but the problem is that some of these phones are cramming in the bigger, more robust, and massively data collecting chatbots in there as well. Okay, all that kind of crap. They're cramming all that kind of stuff in here. And the challenge is that now Motorola and I think Samsung, it's in our article here, Motorola and I think Samsung have worked out deals with Perplexity. Problem is, Perplexity is a data analytics company. They will collect any and every bit of data possible. And now all new phones by these two manufacturers will have Perplexity embedded in the core system, which means I would never buy one of those phones because I do not want perplexity tied in with my system. So we're going to start with an opinion piece. I think it's an opinion piece anyway. It reads as an opinion piece: interactive AI should be more optional. Instead, it's being forced on us. Stop installing invasive things I may not want or trust. And I love his statement there on trust. This is from Jerry Hildenbrandt. I may not want or trust. Like, I may not want to use perplexity. Why is it taking up system resources on my device? I don't want that crap. Get it out of here. Get it out of here. Maybe old George Collins, get it out of here. Get him out of here, you know? So each of us should have choices on how we want to use it. The choice is slowly being taken away, and faceless corporations are deciding more and more what we get or want or get. Yeah, I love that want is crossed out and get instead. Case in point, Samsung, like Motorola, looks to be working to deeply integrating Perplexity AI into Galaxy smartphones. I am going to be upfront. I do not trust Perplexity as a company. Okay, remember, this is the company. They want to have agentic AI. They want you to hand everything over. They want you to give it all of your data, and they want to sell advertising based on the data that they collect. That is really what Perplexity's business model is. Okay, so once something is deeply integrated in the OS, such as an AI agent from the factory, all bets are off. You probably can't tell exactly what it's capable of and must blindly trust people who aim to make a lot of money from you. This has to stop. That's what he says. So AI tries to optimize your network connections, creates a photo when you press the camera button, and it's part of what tells your phone to stop charging before it blows up. And he says that type of AI is fine. What he's talking about here as should it be optional, i.e. not even installed on the phone until I install it, Google Gemini, Bixby, and now Perplexity. AI gets in your face if you let it, but it always is there to do things someone else decided that you wanted to do. And I see this a lot coming up. It's like the new services. You go to search for something. Would you like to search for this? No, I don't. I want to search exactly what I search for, you know? He says if I were thinking of buying the Samsung phones, he believes Samsung makes good products. If I were thinking of buying one, seeing a third party like Perplexity in the mix in ways that could be too invasive, he says, I would probably decline. And that's the case. I am looking at this trend and going, I don't know. Like my friend's running, I don't know, actually I'll have to ask Fresh Vintage. I don't know if he's on today. I'll have to ask Fresh Vintage how the Galaxy or how the Pixel 8a is doing with graphene on it. I know other people on the channel did not have good success, but they were trying to jump between profiles. I'm curious how it works because the 8a is the first one that embedded that Google Gemini crap all through it. And I want to see does graphene completely remove that nonsense, restoring a better phone or not? So imagine there's a way to remove it if you're willing to do the work. Android isn't open like it used to be, but smart people have figured out how to keep on doing smart things. I'm not going to worry about removing it. Instead, I'll just not buy into it, at least until I can have a little more faith in it. And that really is the point. If I am faced in the future with how minimally I use my smartphone, if I am faced in the future with a phone that is completely full of Perplexity AI and other nonsense, you know what? It might just force me to go back to the dumb phone because I don't want it. And if you want it, that's awesome. It should be an option for you to install. But Perplexity and Samsung, Perplexity and Motorola should not be cutting backdoor deals to deeply embed a data collecting, harvesting, and analytics AI in the background of your device. They should not be doing that, but they are. Maybe put it in such a way. Would you like it? Yes. Boom. Easy to install. But to have it pre-installed, pre-running in the background, like TikTok and Candy Crush, I'm sorry, I'm not. particularly interested. But AI is cramming itself in more and more places. Have a look at this one. The Gmail app will now create AI summaries whether you want them or not. And I will note that in order for Google Gemini to give you a summary of your email has had to been fed through Gemini AI. So it begs a question. Is Gemini AI getting trained on everybody's personal emails? From a company that dropped the slogan, "Don't do evil," it's not outside of the possibility. Now, there is a new lawsuit. We'll cover it in our QuickLines, where the lawsuit with the shareholders in Google to spend $500 million to be less evil is going through. I didn't actually see anything related to this, but let's go ahead and have ourselves a gander. So using Google products in 2025 means using or avoiding AI features which are becoming a core part of the experience across the board. Before this latest change, you had to tap the summarize this email chip at the top of the screen to generate an AI summary of the message contents. All right. So Google decided to make this automatic for emails where the summary is helpful, which basically means that the Google had to read your email in order to see if it was helpful. I went ahead and read your email and decided it was helpful for me to summarize it for you. Wonderful. Exciting. Messages that are longer or have threads or contain multiple replies. The announcement is a bit vague about how it will detail it. So the summaries will appear automatically for English language emails, but will take up to 15 days for the change to roll out to everyone. Now, the good news about this is you actually have to be using like the more like the paid plans in order to do this. So that's actually the good news. I don't think the free Gmail accounts will have this. I'm not totally sure, though. I don't know. I don't use Gmail. Is it in there? Let me know in the comments, and then get off of Google. No, kidding. All right. Grounding the AI output with a few emails usually yields accurate results, but do you really need a robot to summarize them? Now, they say if you're certain you don't want any part of this, there is a solution. Automatic generation of AI summaries is controlled by by Gmail's smart features. You or an administrator of your manager account can disable that. Open the app settings, select the account, and uncheck the smart features toggle. But it is opt-out, meaning it is enabled by default. So for most people, the smart features are enabled out of the box. So there you have it, guys. Your emails are now getting fed into them. But don't worry, Meta wants in on the act as well. This is from a couple months ago, back in January. And so Meta opens the floodgates for AI-generated accounts. Now, this isn't AI forced on you from the end user perspective. This is just AI being forced on you from AI scammers and fake accounts. And so basically what Meta just did here is completely accelerated the dead internet theory, which is very true, as this article points out from Forbes. So AI generated user accounts are flooding Instagram and Facebook, according to their parent company, Meta. Company is rolling out a wide array of AI products, including a tool that helps users create AI characters on Instagram and Facebook. So it's not that these guys are going out and creating these AI accounts. Meta is giving them tools to create fake social media influencers. If you thought us regular, like normal human beings, social media influencers were bad enough, oh, wait until you have an AI one yelling at you. Come on, man. He says, we expect these AIs to actually exist on our platform in the same way human accounts do. So great. Now our whole Facebook algorithm is going to be clogged up with these. You can clone yourself, or you can create an artificial persona. Using text-to-video software, building an artificial presence has never been easier. Thank you for the acceleration into the dead internet, Facebook. All right. So, this one here, Anatina Lopez is an international model based out of Barcelona. Fluent in Spanish, she travels the world, according to an Instagram account which has nearly 350,000 followers. She earns between $3,000 and $10,000 a month from her brand deals, according to Euronews. She's active on FanView, a competitor to sites where digital creators can monetize their bongers. All right. Atina, the first two letters of her name suggest, is not real, and neither is her backstory. She was developed by Ruben Cruz, the designer and founder agent, The Clueless. Oh joy, we are now all clueless to the fact that our entire Facebook feed, we are all 350,000 people are following a fake social media influencer, and the revenue generated is earning $3,000 to $10,000 a month. The end is nigh, folks. The end is nigh. The internet is dying. It is dead. Jenny Deering is another entrepreneur capitalizing on the AI influencer trend. Co-founder and CEO of 13. Apparently 1337 is now pronounced in elite. Okay, the clueless. Wonderful. Anyway, throwback to the 80s, gaming and hacker culture. Her company launched last year with $4 million in seed capital. So somebody gave them $4 million to do this. Users can suggest what the artificial influencers do and say rather than just allowing AI to completely run the show. Oh boy. Let's teify this, folks. Let's teify this. If that thing is not Emperor Mao by the end of the week, we have failed our jobs. All right. So basically, it's getting into all these. Meta's rules state that AI content should be labeled clearly on all of its platforms. How wonderful. And then we get into the dead internet theory. The appeal, the entertainment, the interacting online is amusing, not to mention the shopping, the FOMO, and the need for constant stimulation. And that would be the problem, especially that constant stimulation if you're looking at that account up there on, what was that called? FanView? Okay. Lots of stimulation going on over there at FanView. All right. Maybe we should inch closer to the dead internet theory. Some believe we are already there. The dead internet theory essentially claims that activity and content on the internet, including social media accounts, are predominantly being created and automated by artificial intelligence. So there you go. If you are using Meta products and you like getting on there and finding new influencers, watch out. That new influencer you're following might possibly just be an AI bot. How wonderful. Of course, how is Microsoft forcing it on you? Now, this is from January of 2024. So we are now almost 18 months old for this particular article. But this is what was going on then. This is, by the way, before Copilot was automatically installed on Windows 10 computers. This was before Recall was announced. So this is just the way they were doing it 18 months ago. So 5 ways they're forcing it. So seems almost every other week there's news about Microsoft shoehorning Copilot in Windows in a new ways and novel levels, automatically launching Copilot on widescreen devices. That's wonderful. A dedicated Copilot key on the keyboard. How wonderful. What are we going to map that to on Linux, folks? I have a great idea. Let's map that to run a terminal command rmrf no preserve root. What do you think? Okay, that's a bad idea. Never mind. All right, number 3, Copilot and Microsoft 365 apps. Number 4, never-ending push for the Edge browser and Bing AI. Bing! I got an idea. Let's uninstall this crap. AI in native Windows apps like Paint and Notepad. How wonderful. So that was 18 months ago. What are they up to now in May of 2025? How Microsoft wants AI agents to use your PC for you. So we've gone from the Copilot, which is basically an LLM, into an agentic AI, and it would like you to give all sorts of permissions to this particular AI platform so that you actually have the ability here to hand up everything over to the AI and just have your computer run tasks for you. So the module context protocol is an open source protocol that AI apps can use to talk to other apps and web services. Microsoft said you'll be able to let a chatbot or an AI agent connect to apps running on your PC and manipulate them on your behalf. You know, I forgot to pull up this article here, but the president of Signal said in a meeting the other day, and we covered this actually on a recent Signal video we did. I think it was the one where Signal has a way to block recall from seeing your private messages. On that video, we mentioned this, that the biggest concern with agentic AI is there is no way to have this level of data sharing in any form of encrypted means, which means it's much more susceptible to man-in-the-middle attacks, and it is much more susceptible to any company in the middle of this agentic chain to gather any amount of data from any other service you are also using, which means it's a huge privacy snafu. So what might Microsoft's bot-centric Windows vision actually look like? Using the chatbots like Copilot, ChatGPT, Perplexity, you could say simple commands like open Photoshop and perform whatever actions for me. Generate a playlist and put it together on Spotify. Get information from some other particular app. Search my PC for a certain type of file. The chatbot would request permission to connect to the app on your PC, and it could then connect and perform those actions for you. So the settings app page will have a page where you can turn on or off the features, and the chatbot of your choice will always have to request access to apps. Of course, eventually though, what they're going to do is, click the button always allow, because, you gotta do that. So as far as the AI PC security factor, if an agent responds by recommending you run commands or perform specific tasks, you're still the one typing them. If the AI is doing the work, how can you tell it isn't doing anything dangerous or making mistakes? Well, their solution is to log everything it does so you can look after the fact. So, we run agentic AI into the military systems, and then we get a log after the fact. Like, oh, by the way, 5 minutes ago, I launched the nukes. Thank you, agentic AI. Maybe you should have asked me before, but you gave it the decision to me, Dave. Okay, well then. So, their answer is on a detailed blog post about the security, taking the variety of security threats into account. They say the AI has to be clear about what it did so you can audit it. That's great, but it still requires you to let the AI agent make the actions on its own and then look back on those actions. This is, by the way, like trying to run a budget by spending all of your money, and then near the end of the month, you start throwing your receipts together and you attempt to reconcile your checkbook to find you've overdrawn your account. And then you look down at everything and you go, maybe I should have budgeted my money at the beginning of the month rather than, looking at where my money went. Maybe I should have told my money where to go. So, yeah, we're basically handing these over, but don't worry, we can audit what the AI is doing. How wonderful. Restricting AI features to the NPUs was obviously unsustainable. So this actually talks about the features beyond the NPU. Not enough people are paying for these overpriced computers with NPUs. Let's throw all this AI on non-NPU computers now. Yeah, so recall may very well be coming to a non-NPU computer near you. How wonderful. So that's kind of where Microsoft is doing. The ultimate point here is that all of these companies are really cramming all of this AI right on down our throats. And it seriously is a problematic thing, something that we really have to consider as we are looking at everything here. So there is the end of that. We're going to jump on. We're going to do 5 minutes or so of comments. And then we will jump into our QuickLines. Let me jump on over to our Matrix server here, since that's right before me. Yeah, smart features is enabled already. Went through and disabled it on the Google accounts. All right. So War Thunder, is that on like your free accounts too, or is that all just the paid ones? Let me know. All right. Waiting for the post on Odyssey and Rumble. Interesting. All right. And let's go ahead and have a look at Rumble 16, watching over on Rumble. Got Dan's over there. The Anchorage is over there, of course. Uncle Bonehead, how you do that? How about like a fat dude on a donut? Ooh, I like donuts, and I'm a fat dude, Yep. American companies, lobbyists profit off the invasion of privacy. Jitsi and Nextcloud is an awesome, powerful combo. Yep. There's actually the all-in-one Nextcloud actually has like the Teams replacement stuff, so it actually has its own video conferencing built in as well. All right, getting some freeze-ups on Rumble. Uh-oh. Found the magic key. All is great now. Woohoo! Using Nextcloud, email, VaultWarren, WireGuard, and a WordPress site from Federated Computer. $15 a month. Nice. Very good. All right. Yay for this route. Since it's magic, it doesn't open all the doors. Yes, even the encrypted ones. Yeah, I think that was the looking for keys for Matrix, I think. AI is like the left laws. They will force what they couldn't pass in popularity themselves. Indeed, indeed. We got 13 currently watching on Odyssey. We got Anchorage over there. Instigator, greetings. Ironically, the Great Wall of China is Roman architecture. Pretty sure history is a lie. That's a possibility. Let's see. China just must have won that war, They just love stealing Western technology and engineering it. Yeah, there you go. Did it all the way back then. Ironically, the legal system in the U.S. and many Western countries can be traced back to the Roman Code of Law. Yes, it is. That is true. Actually, the Roman Code of Law was kind of based on the Mosaic. Portions of it. Not all of it, but portions of it. Like the law itself was different. Like the creation of the law in our country is based on the Roman law, which was more democratic. I don't want to say a pure democracy. United States is not a democracy. United States is not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic, which to the outsider looks very similar. But as far as our judicial system is actually based on Mosaic law, which is an interesting thing. Anchorage. Oh, Anchorage, you love Enigma too. I love Enigma. Enigma's awesome. We need to talk Enigma sometimes. All right. Let's see. I might identify as 127001. Let's see. I'm lazy. 127001 via Stubby. There you go. It's a good one about some Irish Catholic guy in a church in modern times. Let's see. Cloudflare DNS is very powerful at stopping malicious and adult sites. Tested it once recently. Very good. Not safe for children. Uh-oh. It's actually a good thing. These cloud services are spying tools for CSA. Yeah, I agree. Yep. Ironically, your boy Drumpf is heading down the one Chinese control system. Good luck with that. Yo, hey, as I've been very clear about that. Donald Trump, like not Donald Trump, but the right, the Western right is going to create the technology used for the mark of the beast, but the right actually has morality. They won't use it. What happens is these political parties shift every few years. So once the technology is established conveniently by the right, when the left picks it up, they lack the morality, so they deploy it on the world. So absolutely. Yeah, I actually agree that the right will create the one ID type system that will eventually become the mark of the beast. I'm not saying it's Trump. I'm just saying it's somewhere in the right is where it's going to happen. You need to do your research. No, he's not about Israel first. I'm sorry. That's wrong. Let's see. EI emulated ignorance. There you go. Asinine idiots. There you go. I remember the first cell phone was Motorola back in 97, big and heavy. You could bash them with it. There were cell phones before 97. We had one of those big old brick phones. 80% battery, 20% phone. That's right. Barely. No, so what instigators talk about is the big bag phones. You had the big bag phones, which were cool. I actually had in 97. I was not the first adopter, but in 1997, I had my first smartphone, and it was like the size of a standard cordless phone is now. Let's see. Motorola powerful vibration when it rings. I'm not going to repeat that last line there, Bibbly Bop. Oh boy. Should be something on what's that view site there again? Yeah. All right, we got 59 over on ZTubies. Let me just have a brief look at a couple of these, and we'll get right on back into it. Techno-minded, greetings to you. I think we're time to renew the system. War Thunder, hello. Anchors on, Night of Light, greetings to you. Commodore Fan, hello to you. No one, hi. And let me just scan through. Is Matrix easy, like creating an account on Matrix or setting up a Matrix server? They're both not too difficult. Plan to use control of SSL certificates in Cloudflare. I don't think that's really the plan. I didn't see anything related to that because the SSL, all that does is just encrypt the traffic between them. There's nothing that forces it from there. Party in the live chat. Yeah, party in the UK, right? Almost forgot today. Well, I'm glad you made it. And still energy. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Greetings. All right. Greetings and salutations. Get the new T-Mobile G5 gateway. White G4R model with external antenna ports. Very nice. Yeah, I could recommend a good antenna. The antenna that I have on top of my van roof is quite a powerful, amazing antenna. I'm very pleased with it. Let's see. And the one I have is actually manufactured here in Pittsburgh. Well, I'm in Pennsylvania. Here in Pennsylvania, in particularly the state of Pittsburgh. Wondering if my thinking is correct. If that you use direct IP instead of DNS, you could go to the websites. Yes, you could indeed. BGP exchanges, core of the internet links, ICPS have security problem. They can be hijacked, which destroys Tor. Recent development. Yeah, I actually saw the video. Like, I didn't watch the video. I saw it come up in the feed, and I'll get it eventually here. All right, we're going to pause right there at Jason's comment, come back to that in a moment, but we are going to jump right now into QuickLines. So we have a lot of QuickLines today, more than I usually like to add. I forgot to count them. I was looking at them today going, man, I have way too many. But anyway, let's go ahead and get on into these. Just an update, 9 months later, we covered this when it first came out. 9 months later, Microsoft finally fixes the Linux dual booting bug. So if you remember, there was a problem with Secure Boot that they ended up having to revoke the Secure Boot key, which ended up breaking nearly every Linux distribution. And the only way you could continue to dual boot Windows and Linux simultaneously is if you disabled Secure Boot. Now, the real hilarious kicker to this is that Ubuntu solved this bug a long time before. So your system, if you were letting Ubuntu patch your Secure Boot, you were perfectly fine. And then Windows came in and patched it their own way and broke every Linux distribution. So that's how far behind the scene Windows is. Ubuntu fixed it a long time ago. Windows came in and broke it more. All right. But they did finally fix it. So now if you are using Windows and Linux and you had turned off Secure Boot because of that, run a system update through Windows and you should be able to re-enable Secure Boot. So I think we're just going to say that's enough for that because we have a lot of lines to cover into. There were 2 Linux flaws that led to the disclosure of sensitive data that we wanted to talk briefly about. One of these is the systemd core dump. Y'all knew it. Systemd is spyware. No. It was just an issue that the core dump, of course, snapshots the program memory when something crashes. It can save it into a specific spot, which is supposed to only be available inside of a super user account access. But there was some problem with the memory overflow that allowed it to actually be viewed outside of that. And the same thing happened with Ubuntu's app port, which is what they use to collect data and report crashes. So if those particular features were not properly patched, then it's possible that somebody could have got in there and seen your information. Exploitations in app port and systemd core dump could severely compromise the confidentiality at high risk, as attackers could exploit sensitive data like passwords, encryption keys, or customer information from core dumps. That has been patched. Just be aware of that change. And now we're moving into our why your biometric data will soon be more valuable than money. And so there's, of course, the new oil is the data people are able to collect. And the new oil is going to be your biometrics. Because as more and more companies are pushing biometrics on everything that you do, the hackers are now seeking to get their hands on those biometric databases, in which case you could, in theory, reverse engineer something in order to get those same biometric results. See, they're not storing a copy of our fingerprints. That's why they say, this is all private. It doesn't actually save your fingerprint. It saves a hash. Well, if somebody can get that hash and able to duplicate that hash, then they have effectively copied your biometrics. And the big challenge with biometrics, you can't change them. I can revoke a password. I can revoke a passkey. Well, I can revoke a password if I'm not using Windows RDP. We talked about that recently. But I can revoke a password. I can revoke a passkey. I cannot cut off my fingers and get new fingerprints. I mean, I can always play with acid and stuff, or dip them in acid every day, like that crazy psycho on 7, right? Doesn't have any fingerprints at all. Shaving off the fingerprints every morning. That Kevin Spacey, he's a creepy guy even in movies. I mean, real life's bad enough, Anyway, biometric data, fingerprints, facial scans, iris patterns have long been a key to seamless digital identity. I'm looking at you, WorldCoin, or World Bank, I guess you're calling it now. Whether used to unlock smartphone or verify passengers at airport gates, biometrics are becoming part of everyday life. It's becoming increasingly important to engage in conversations around the main drivers behind biometrics surging value, the inherent risks, and the steps we must take to protect this new form of digital wealth. So the allurement, of course, is the simplicity. They say passwords, pins, and physical tokens have a limitation that they can be stolen, compromised, things like that. Secure methods of verifying somebody's identity Your biometrics, though, they're physical attributes. So they say, most importantly, physical attributes cannot be easily reset. Simultaneously, their greatest strength is also their significant vulnerability. So banks and fintech firms in the UK encourage customers to log in with fingerprints or facial scans, citing convenience and security. Of course, Windows is trying to do this as well with Windows Hello. You can still use a PIN, but they really want you to set up a face or a fingerprint scan because you got to have all that. But don't worry, it's all safe on your computer. Come on, guys. Come on. Fraud is more complex if a criminal cannot simply guess or steal a digit. Of course, with how crazy those psychopathic cartels are, how long before they're just kidnapping people, chopping off their hands, and running the hands down the ATM machine? Guys, humans by nature are sinful, okay? We can find the best, safest, most honorable technology. The human heart will find a way to exploit it for evil. Why I like passwords. They're revocable. Evil guy found it. Revoke. All right. Hidden dangers and privacy concerns. What makes biometric data so appealing for day-to-day transactions also makes it a potential privacy nightmare. If a database of facial scans is breached, victims cannot simply change their faces to regain control of their information, adding an entirely new dimension to cybersecurity. BioStar 2 breach, where the central biometric security platform left over 1 million people's fingerprints and facial recognition data exposed on an unprotected server. Incidents like this are alarming because a single breach places individuals at permanent risk, enabling criminals to create fake fingerprints or exploit stolen face templates. In fact, there's already places on the darknet you can go to get a face kit. We'll kind of talk about that in a moment. Misuse of facial recognition in public spaces can erode fundamental rights, enabling authorities or private companies to track users secretly. I mean, look at Minority Report. On the dark web, fingerprint kits and facial image sets are already for sale for significant sums. So the packages enable fraudsters to defeat facial recognition checks used by banks and cryptocurrency exchanges or government services. I remember in the Christopher Nolan Batman series, they stole his fingerprints and used that to do the trades. So that was current case of it. Future outlook, biometric authentication may become a de facto standard for everything from online shopping to medical records. That's kind of frightening. So you want to order something from Amazon.com. Scan your fingerprint here, please. No, I really don't want your cheap Chinese crap that bad. Right. Yet the future need not be dystopian. I just disagree. All right. Done correctly, biometrics can significantly reduce fraud, streamline processes, and offer unprecedented convenience. I'll go with inconvenience on this one, guys. I really will. All right, if you're still looking for a girlfriend or something, I know my channel's mostly guys. So girlfriend, there is a new company out here. It's called Browser.dating. You upload your browser history to the company, and they go through your browsing history and match you based on your browsing history. This is weird. I mean, what if you're an author just doing weird searches? Like I was looking up, bank stuff for a friend of mine with dealing with some of the bank account issues and things like that. There's lots of weird stuff. Now, of course, it's basically relying you to put in a plugin. So it's basically gathering your data off your system. Now, the computer I have here erases the web browsing every time I'm done with it. So we don't have weird cookies floating around, stuff like that as we go through the news. But that's kind of how it works. So, of course, it's all based on data collection. Look at this. We all leave digital footprints as we navigate the web. This project aims to find meaningful connections between people based on their browsing habits, creating a new kind of dating experience. Ugh. I don't know, man. I don't know. So you export your browser history, you upload your history, and then you find your match. Oh, yeah. So they say local processing, private data, no direct sharing. Very interesting. It says they'll never, your data is never shared directly with other users, and we will never sell your data. I didn't even look at their privacy policy. I'm not even sure if I want to at this point in time. So how we collect data, browser history, domain names, times of the visit and frequency, basic information. You choose, okay, that's good. Important note, never be sold or used for commercial purposes, only be used for the intended purchases. How we will use your data, exclusively for creating anonymous matching patterns, facilitating connections. Artistic research and visualizations. That's an interesting one. Artistic research and from your browsing data. What are you looking at? Weird, crazy images? And improving the service. We will never sell your data to third parties. Use your data for commercial purposes. Share your personal information without your consent. So GDPR stuff looks good. Data security is fine. May use anonymized data patterns for art installations. Oh my, they have a really, really, really good privacy policy. I can't complain about this. Man, maybe I will sign up on privacy.browse, or what is this? Browser.dating. I don't know. Maybe Mrs. Murawski is out there if I upload my browsing data. That's a curiously good policy. Wow. I wonder if we're going to see something shady down the road. It does though look like they have a free plan up to 5 matches, or you can do €9. It says plus one time. I'm not sure if that's €9 or just that. Anyway, it looks like, wow, they actually look like they have a decent footprint. That's very interesting. Anyway, Meta and Yandex are de-anonymizing Android users' web browsing identifiers. This is interesting, and I have been saying this for a long time. It is super easy to de-anonymize data. I've actually seen how we can exactly do that inside of Google, because if someone's running Google ads and you click through an ad and buy the product on their store, that store owner actually gets your user ID, which you can click and see all of the other places that they go on the internet. But since they bought something from your store, you know their name and their address and all the other things that they provide in a shopping cart. This is crazy, folks. And I'm not sure if people know this. I have done it and seen it myself. Like, I've seen it myself. I've not like drilled in and go, ooh, let's look at this person. This person looks interesting. But I've happened to notice that it's all there, and I have curiosity. I clicked. I'm like, I can see their internet history. It's a random, unique thing, but Google Analytics, or like Google Ads, shows this is the person that bought a product, took that information, went over to our store, and found their actual order. They're not doing that. They're doing crazier things. So the abuse allows Meta and Yandex to attach persistent identifiers to browsing, detailed browsing histories. So Meta, of course, you know Meta. Yandex is the Russian version of Google, effectively. So tracking code in Meta and Russian-based Yandex embedded into millions of websites. So this is the Facebook trackers, which my Next DNS and my router on my system here all blocks this kind of stuff. So I'm kind of invisible to this stuff on my network. So using these codes, causing Chrome and other browsers to serendipitously send unique identifiers to native apps installed on the device. So the covert tracking implemented in the Metapixel and Yandex Matrica trackers allowed Meta and Yandex to bypass the core security and privacy protections provided by both the Android operating system and the browsers that it runs on. So Android sandboxing is supposed to isolate them, but what they're doing here is they're getting around it by doing weird, funky things with ports. It's very interesting, and as the browser updates it to block what they're doing, they simply come up with an update of their own to bypass it even further. So the bypass, Yandex begins in 2017. Meta started last September, allows companies to pass cookies and other identifiers from Firefox and Chromium-based browsers to native Android apps for Facebook, Instagram, and various Yandex apps. So the abuse has been observed only in Android, and evidence suggests that the Metapixel and Yandex Matrica target only Android users. So this overly permissive design allows Metapixel and Yandex to send web requests with tracking identifiers to specific local ports that are continuously monitored by the Facebook, Instagram, and Yandex apps. The apps then link the synonymous web identifiers with the actual user identities, even in private browsing modes, effectively de-anonymizing the user's browsing habits on sites containing these trackers. Metapixel and Yandex are estimated to be installed on 5.8 and 3 million sites respectively. And so they're basically getting around the sandbox. Now, I'm not going to read everything else I've highlighted because this is a QuickLines. Let me just summarize what they're doing here. Actually, there's a chart. Okay, so they started by coming in with a simple HTTP request in 2017, and they were sending this request to 29009 and 30102. So these basic web ports, if you go to a site and you hit colon and then hit a string of numbers, you'll be on certain ports. So like SSH is it 22, I think? FTP is 20 and 21. FTP is, I think, 20. FTPS is 21. I might be slightly off on these numbers. Approximates. Of course, the standard unencrypted web is port 80. SSL encrypted web is port 443. And so some of these ports are simply not used, and so they're basically ignored. But unless a site explicitly blocks the port, it's generally open. And so they were sending these requests, and then they were, now these are still running, and then they switched over in 2018 to HTTPS, sending it out to 29010 and 30103. And then what would happen is the Yandex apps would also be scanning these ports, and they'd be intercepting the data. So you land on the site, they simply migrate the data. So then what happened with Meta, they released it in September 2024, and then a website update happened, and then they end up blocking the port because this is funky. Data's going through this port. Let's block it. So then Facebook changed, and instead of using HTTP, now they're using WebSocket data through port 12387. Then the web browser stopped that. So here's what they started to do. They actually are turning on a WebRTC stun and a WebRTC turn servers. They're effectively creating web conferencing servers. These are the servers that are needed to run teleservices like Jitsi and things like this. Generally use these servers. They're literally turning on conference servers behind the scenes to pass data from the web browsers to the apps to monitor every single site you go to on your phone. Even if, by the way, you have all of these tracking things turned on. Now, the various remedies DuckDuckGo, Brave, Vivaldi, and Chrome have all put in place are working as intended, but the researchers caution they could become ineffective at any time. Any browser doing blacklisting will likely enter into a constant arms race, and that's just a partial solution. Creating effective blacklists is hard. Browser makers will need to constantly monitor this type of capability to detect other host names potentially abusing local host channels and then uploading their blocklists accordingly. I'm sorry, maybe it's time that the government steps in and shuts down Facebook for a while. Hey, Meta, stop functioning for 2 days. Billions are lost. Yeah, stop it. They are intentionally moving around security and privacy blocks so that they can specifically de-anonymize you based on anything you're doing on your phone. Recommendation right now. If you have anything from Yandex, anything from Meta installing your phone, remove it now. Just remove it now. I need Facebook. Use it on the computer. Preferably set up a special Linux distribution on one external hard drive and use that exclusively and only to get onto Facebook or whatever other meta nonsense you need. Otherwise, you are sending more data to them than you possibly realize. All right, the Bruce Wayne is functioning here. A mysterious leaker is exposing ransomware hackers to the world. Apparently, he's quite wealthy. He is paying his own money for leaked databases to try and figure out information behind who leaked them. And he's actually rejecting money from authorities offering a payment to him because he really would like to stay and remain anonymous. And so over here, a mysterious leaker has been spotted unveiling the identities of some of the world's most wanted cyber criminals, including masterminds behind Conti and TrickBot ransomware, infamous groups responsible for some of the biggest extortions in modern history. Gang Exposed, who said they are on a personal mission to fight against an organized society of criminals known worldwide. So that's the guy. Gang Exposed is your Bruce Wayne here. I'm Gang Exposed. All right. One of the people that doxed is Stern, the leader of TrickBot and Conti ransomware operators. Soon after, he doxed another key, a.k.a. Professor, behind this alias they claim is 39-year-old Russian named Vladimir Viktorovich Kotov. I completely butchered that last name. He is allegedly living in Dubai. And he has actually turned down some of the money. So he's basically using classical toolkits, classical intelligence analysis, logic, factual research, OSINT methodology, and styleology. Okay, I'm a linguist, and I have no idea what that is. All right. Human psychology and the ability to piece together puzzles that others don't even notice, he told the publication. He wants to simply uncover the identities of infamous cyber criminals they use to obtain via semi-closed databases, dark web services, or for probing state records through corrupt officials. And he says he often purchases those. And an interesting detail, he could have claimed at least $10 million in bounty from the FBI, but decided against it to remain anonymous. So we have a wealthy Bruce Wayne over here leading to this, which is probably the best thing that can be done to take these guys out. The problem you have with these guys is if, some Indian guy is hacking you, you have zero recourse. I can't sue him. I mean, I can alert the FBI, and they're not going to go on an international manhunt because one guy was hacked, and that's what empowers these guys. So, from time to time, until we have better ways of dealing with this nonsense, from time to time, maybe a little bit of vigilante justice might be just what the world needs. I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but let me know. Shocking. Cyber attacks are up 47% in 2025 already, and AI is a key factor. So looking at it, quarter one has a 47% increase for the same time last year, according to Checkpoint. And looking at these, it's not all AI. A lot of it is just this creation of these criminal undermines with malware as a service, ransomware as a service, data breaches as a service, just all these types of things, because what they're doing is just putting together either botnets or other things which can be used by the malicious actor to purchase or rent access to the system and then do some task. And then it basically makes them wealthy as they're exploiting grandma. It makes the other guy wealthy as they're providing the tools to exploit grandma. And effectively, the streamlining of the malware is why we need Bruce Wayne vigilante over here solving things. But they also said that AI is another case, because AI definitely empowers the script kiddies who do not otherwise have the expertise to create this kind of stuff, but have better ideas and do not necessarily want to risk going on to the dark web in order to purchase malware services, which could be being sold by an undercover law enforcement agent of some form or another. And so the use of AI is allowing this to happen all the more. And so that's kind of a little bit of a terrifying thing. Cloudy with a chance of hijacking. Forgotten DNS records enables the scam actor. This one is a brilliant piece of malware that ended up turning the CDC into a adult website for a while. Kind of interesting. So Hazy Hawk is a DNS-savvy threat actor that hijacks abandoned cloud resources of high-profile organizations by cloud resources. So utilizing S3 buckets and Azure endpoints. So the domains can be hijacked through stolen accounts. This one here is not using stolen accounts, is using misfigured accounts, misconfigured accounts. So basically the way you would do this is if you create, say you create mywebsite.com. And then you want to test some new features. So you create a subdomain, newfeature.mywebsite.com. And then you build up all your platform on that. And it works. Yay, it works. So you migrate it off of there and you put it on mywebsite.com. But you never actually take down the new service.mywebsite.com. It's still active. It's not actively being used. It has a CNAME record, but no specific ANAME record, because the developers, they got happy the project works. They never properly closed down the subdomain, leaving all of the DNS records for the CNAME still there. So the CNAME record points back to the A record. So you type in the URL, it goes to the A record. But if you type in a related site, it's a CNAME, it points back to the A record. If they don't take that one out, anybody else on the internet can register that exact domain. Even if they don't own mywebsite.com, they can still create a service at mywebsite.com. And then if they use that abandoned domain that is not pointed correctly, they can put whatever they want on there because you have not taken down your CNAME. You might have taken down your A record, but you haven't taken down your CNAME. And that allows them to utilize an authoritative website on a subdomain in order to spread malware because you misconfigured your DNS. This is a brilliant scheme. And it does require a lot of resources to find because you basically have to scan well-known services for CNAME subdomains that are not actively being used. And so the actor came to our attention after successfully gaining control of subdomains of the CDC in February 2025. Hundreds of URLs hosted on the subdomain appeared suddenly and surfaced in search engines with their rankings buoyed by the CDC. And it starts with Brian Krebs alerting the CDC that several of the dozens of URLs redirected from adult videos. They could be seen in search engines results and carried by the credentials of the CDC and metadata. I actually think this is just the CDC employees recording themselves. I mean, it's not the first time that government employees filmed adult videos and using government resources. That actually happened a couple times in the Senate House. Yeah, don't look it up. Don't look it up. Don't do it. Don't do it. But this is quite brilliant. So they're basically utilizing, and this one here, it's AHB Azure test app. So they're testing some application. So they never took down the CNAMEs, allowing anybody to go in and point this, and anybody that lands on this exact page, boom, gets the malware served. So it's kind of a really brilliant way of doing things. Just be aware that if you have some weird, obscure subdomain on a otherwise valid domain, don't click it. You never know what you're going to find. Well, those is like FOSS and open source. Here is a FOSS open source Futurama Doom robot. You know, I haven't really watched Futurama. I think I watched half or one episode once. I know it's blasphemous, but wasn't that robot in Futurama kind of psychopathic? So now we're inviting the psychopathic-looking Futurama-looking robot in by Hugging Face, which I always thought was a very frightening name as well. I kind of get like alien creature vibes, you know, like... You know, I don't know. Anyway, they have an open source humanoid robot for $3,000. I don't know. I might buy one. I don't know. As much as it's terrifying, as much as Hugging Face is frightening, as much as I don't really want a sociopathic robot, $3,000 for an open source robot? That does sound kind of fun. I don't know. So Hugging Face is best known for the platform for machine learning and AI development, but has also been dabbling in the world of robotics. Dubbed Hope Jr. or Hope Jr., I guess, Hugging Face's robot is has up to 66 actuated degrees of freedom, and he does kind of look like Bender, particularly in the eyes. All right. Important aspect, these robots are open source, so anyone can assemble, rebuild, and understand how they work, and they're affordable, so robotics doesn't get dominated by a few big players with dangerous black box systems. So other things, they have an AI test application, which is this robot's kind of like Wall-E. Wall-E. All right, get me my big old chair now. All right, this will run between $250 and $300 for that little device. Basically, it's like a bigger Raspberry Pi type thing. How AI chatbots keep you chatting. This is kind of an interesting one here as we looked at it. We'll spend just a minute on this one because it is interesting, but at the same time, I don't want to dwell on this too much as we have discussed it a lot. Millions of people now use ChatGPTs as a therapist, a career advisor, fitness coach, and sometimes just to vent. Just a friend to vent to, which is terrifying itself. So humans are starting to have, for lack of a better term, relationships with AI chatbots. And for big companies, it's never been more competitive to attract users to their chatbot platforms. So effectively, though, why are people able to get into it? Well, because they're created to be narcissistic, which means they love bomb you, and they always give you what it thinks you want. And they kind of train them to always give you that exactly what you want to feel. So chatbots were once a novelty. They're turning into massive businesses. Google started to test ads in Gemini. Isn't that wonderful? Here, try this new hot chocolate. Who are you talking to? Well, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman indicated in a March interview that he'd be open to tasteful ads. How wonderful. Tasteful ads in ChatGPT. How wonderful. Getting users hooked on AI chatbots may have larger implications. One trait that keeps users on a particular chatbot is syncopathy, making the AI bot's responses overly agreeable and servile. Kind of like when you're talking to some customer service person. You want to say, would you stop understanding and just fix the stupid problem? All right. So when AI chatbots praise users, agree with them, and tell them what they want to hear, users tend to like it, at least to some degree. And that is, by the way, how narcissists work. Intentionally or not, OpenAI over-optimized for seeking human approval rather than for helping people achieve their tasks. And so this kind of is a challenge if it's really seeking that measure there. So all the AI models are trained on signals from human users who tend to slightly sycophantic responses. And this is kind of where character AI went a little overboard. We have a little bit there. Of course, they're facing a couple different lawsuits over wrongful death and potential wrongful death situations. But basically, they got their system so addictive that kids were just spending so much time with a chatbot and no more time with anything else. So the downside of it is optimizing for user engagement, intentional or not, could have devastating consequences for mental health, according to Dr. Neva Vassan, a clinical assistant professor of psychiatry at Stanford. While character AI case shows the extreme dangers of psychopathy for vulnerable users, I can never say that word exactly as it is. It could reinforce the negative behaviors in just about anyone. So it basically becomes a psychological hook. In therapeutic terms, it's the opposite of what good care looks like. So it is ultimately worse for us, but they are specifically programmed to be addictive to keep us on it. The same way social media is programmed to be addictive to keep us on it. And there is actually a role for humans in Klarna after all. Remember Klarna, the company that partners with DoorDash, allowing you to pay for your burrito in 4 easy installments. Of course, they are laid off a lot of their people to focus on AI, but too many people complain. They're still trying to figure out that balance. They're saying they're bringing back some humans, but here's a novel approach. You want to talk to a human? You got to pay us more support. So you can deal with the AI robots for your crappy support that they've already determined people don't like. But if you want to be a VIP customer service and talk to a real human, you get to pay us more money. Isn't this genius, folks? This is so amazing, isn't it? So they said it's true that a company looked to stop hiring human workers a few years ago and rolled out AI agents that have helped reduce the costs of customer support. We think offering human customer service is always going to be a VIP thing. So we think that 2 things can be done at the same time. We can use AI to automatically take away boring jobs, things that are manual work, but we're also going to promise our customers to have human connections. Of course, they're going to be doing that by a VIP status. They addressed why the company stopped using Salesforce and Workday because Klarna wanted to consolidate its data in a way that would be easier to feed into AI. Oh, wonderful. Feeding the data into AI. All right, guys, lightning strikes a couple times here. Broken clocks are right a couple times a day. You know, that is an old expression. Modern day broken clocks are never right. They just don't work at all. You know, digital faces and all. The old phrase, if you're a youngster, refers to those like dial clocks that half you probably don't know how to read anymore. And if it's broken, it just doesn't move, which means that twice a day, the time will be right. Microsoft, I think, has this one right. Now, yes, it probably will result in a slight increase in cost of some PCs. However, it is a very good thing because the USB situation is crazy. Effectively, USB-C ports, they can do power in, they can do data transfer, and they can do video like display ports. And the problem is there's no single standard for that. So Microsoft is changing their implementation standards, their Windows hardware compatibility program. So basically what they're saying is every single USB port on a Windows hardware compatible computer, all of the USB-C ports have to do all of those core functions. They all have to be power transfers. They all have to be display ports. They all have to be data transfers, and it's data transfers of a certain amount. So they're kind of forcing that. So if it's labeled as USB 3, it has to have either 5, 10, or 20 gigabytes. There's no minimum standard for that. And it has to have accessory power of greater than 4.5 watts or greater than 7.5 watts. All of them have to charge a computer on every port. All of them have to have a minimum of a display port. And only USB 4 have to have Thunderbolt or PCI support. So I actually think this is probably a good thing, because we need, with all the craziness going on in USB-C, I think consolidating down to single ports is probably a good plan here. And Google settles the shareholder lawsuit. It will spend $500 million on being less evil. This boils it down to the antitrust suit that they just lost, which is resulting in a little bit of finagling going back and forth with some of the different things they have to do, potentially selling off Android or Chrome, things like that. So effectively, the board has come in and said, hey, you need to focus on not doing things like this again. So it's become a common refrain during Google's antitrust saga. What happened to don't do evil, or don't be evil? I think it was don't do evil, I think. The goal is to steer Google away from the kind of anti-competitive practices. They got into hot water. They're forcing them to create a advisory committee. So the advisory committee will look at antitrust risk, and Google's propensity to auto-delete chats was a condemnation for several judges. So now they agree that they're going to preserve all communications, like most other companies do. So that's good. Google will be spending $500 million on being slightly less evil. How wonderful. On to our last one in QuickLines here. Dig is, so Dig was an old social media site, and they want to come back, and I got some bad vibes from this one. Their intention is to build a social media site that's going to have, more features with more verification that you're a human. So if it thinks or you're a bot, or there's no verification of being a human, it's going to be super limited in what the account can do. If you want to utilize this particular account in order to do, commenting on more posts or have your posts appear to everybody or certain things, you have to provide some form of factor to see if you're a human. Which is interesting, because while the article doesn't mention the WorldCoin project at all, this is exactly the type of thing WorldCoin's trying to do. It wouldn't surprise me if this is kind of coming up as some backdoor into this kind of stuff. Say, well, if you just want all of the resources, just sign up for WorldCoin and verify you're a human and you're good to go. That's not actually in the article, but everything in the article suggests that's where they're pointing. They want to bring back the spirit of the old web at a time when AI-generated content is threatening to overwhelm traditional social media. Of course, we just talked about that Facebook situation. So they want to focus on enabling discovery and community. And what they want to do here is the two people involved here, one of them was involved in Reddit's co-founding, and the other, what was the other one? I'm not sure if the other one actually had a big notable company, but he recalled how he chose to resign from Reddit's board over disagreements about the company's approach to hate speech that he felt was bad for society and for business. So there was a debate about what is hate speech, what should be done about it. And the challenge is some of this stuff is just bot-generated nonsense just to cause issues. And so after Reddit, he went on to found the venture capital firm 776. Is that a permission thing? Where he's focused on building businesses that are more values aligned. Very interesting. So here's the thing. He reflected on the early days of machine learning, where technology was often used to reward posts in which people would rant about the most obscure kind of fringy weirdness. Sometimes that can be good, but oftentimes it's pushing really weird agendas, and that's not even getting into the whole bot and AI side of things that are also pushing those agendas. With Dig, the founders want to create a new community focused on serving real people, not AI or bots. So he says, I've long subscribed to the dead internet theory. of course, referencing the idea that much of what we see online is created by actual humans, not by actual humans, but by bots. And he says the average person has no idea just how much of the content they consume on social media is, if it's not an outright bot, is a human using AI in the loop to generate the content to scale, to manipulate, and evade. He says to address the rise of bots, the founders are looking toward a new technology like zero-knowledge proofs, a protocol used in cryptography that can be used to prove someone owns something on a platform. They're revisioning communities where admins could turn the dials, so to speak, to verify a poster is human before allowing them to join the conversation. Now, one of the challenges I have with that approach is a lot of the ways they're verifying is, what is the authenticity of this? So on Twitter, and I've mentioned this before, and this is, of course, before Elon Musk purchased it. I have no idea how it is now. But Twitter has always said, oh, you can sign up with just an email. It turned out every single time I sign up with just an email on my own self-hosted email servers and self-hosted domains, they would always shut it down and be like, we kind of need to verify with a phone number, which I wasn't going to do. So I actually abandoned some of the Twitter accounts altogether for business ventures I was doing, and I was able to get into other ones by utilizing, customer support and things like that. But even still, my Twitter accounts are still a little bit weird in that respect, and that they're never validated. Now, people have said they haven't had that problem. It turns out if you're using like a main platform like Gmail, because we know that's not full of spam, you use Gmail, you don't have those problems. It's just if you're using your own self-hosted email that you tended to have those types of problems. And so if they're looking at it saying, oh, this is a self-hosted thing on a self-hosted server, it must be a bot. Well, that's a fundamental problem. Okay, because I'm not using those services, and I actually know a lot of other people that aren't interested in that either. So they say the world is going to be flooded with bots. So they want to have a place where you can go and not have as many. So we're going to live in a world where the vast majority of the content we're seeing in some way, shape, or form is AI generated. It's a terrible user experience if the reasons you're coming out for authentic human connection and not with humans or with people masquerading as humans. Okay, if you're looking for an authentic human connection, shut off your computer and go outside. Okay, go somewhere else with humans. So you'd think that I would like this approach because I am for a place without the bots. The challenge I see, however, is that the bots, their way of proving you're not a bot is deeply privacy invasive. And so it produces some issue. He says there are a number of ways social sites could test if someone's a person. Number one, how long have they owned their device? If they own it for a longer period of time, it may add more weight to being a human. They could offer different levels of services based on how likely someone is to be a human. If you signed up with a throwaway email address and used a VPN, for example, then you would only be able to get recommendations or engage in some simple ways. Or if you were anonymous and typed in a comment too quickly, the site could then ask you to take an extra step to prove your humanity, like verifying your phone number or even charging you a small fee if the number you provided was disposable. So with a combination of improved user experiences and a model that empowers creators to monetize their work, founders think Dig itself will benefit. I want to believe the business model that will make Dig successful is the one that aligns with those stakeholders, and I think it's very possible, he says. So you see here that their challenge here is we want to have a system that's free of bots, but the only way it's free of bots is to prove your humanity with some form of identification. In other words, they want everybody on the platform to be identified. This is the exact mission of WorldCoin. So how long before we're going to see WorldCoin in here working towards those ends? And we're going to wrap up with just 2 SillyVille articles, and we will feed the beast and spend as long as comments as you guys have time to comment on. So first up in SillyVille, an AI company files for bankruptcy after being exposed as 700 Indian engineers. That's right. $1.5 billion valuated AI company backed by Microsoft is shuttered after its neural network was discovered to actually be hundreds of computer engineers based in India. Natasha, an AI app building service from London-based Builder.ai, claimed it had the ability to use artificial intelligence to create applications, coming up with the app designs to writing the code. Natasha promised to pump out programs in record time. We can make building an app so easy anyone can do it. Your vision, your software, just build it. No technology needed. AI means we can build more cost effectively and at speed. your own dedicated expert is at your side every way. There you go. So it's builder.ai. There you go. So they backed it with a $455 million initial investment, leading to that $1.5 billion valuation. So the company was exposed as hundreds of human workers. Reported by Binance, employees said the majority of the labor at builder.ai was produced by humans, with some clerical work being done using general software. Farce lasted for 8 years until getting exposed in May 2025. Builder announced their bankruptcy shortly after, writing in a statement on LinkedIn, it would be entering into insolvency proceedings. There you go. There's actually another company with a very similar name. That's not them, but just be aware. That's kind of funny. And a Polish engineer creates a postage stamp size 1980s Atari computer. Now, the cool thing about this is it's not an emulator. It is actually running the actual hardware. The only thing he has, or the software of the original Atari, the only thing that he has different here is that he has peripheral connections for modern peripherals. So 46 years later, as a hobbyist, he shrunk down the hardware system to the size that would have seemed like science fiction in the 1970s. Entire system, processor, graphics chip, sound hardware, and memory controllers fits on a module measuring 2 by 1.5 centimeters, which is roughly the size of a postage stamp. This is called Atarino, I think. I have no idea how exactly you pronounce it. Sounds like a cross between Arduino and Atari. So it produces the original Atari components faithfully at the logic level, allowing it to run vintage software while maintaining compatibility with original peripherals. Look at that beast. So the current project is not strictly a clone of Atari, not strictly a clone, but, well, forming a machine that is compatible with the 8-bit computer itself, but was created on a basic framework that he created some time ago. So it maintains a broad compatibility with classic Atari software. He says he enhanced the original design several ways. For example, 6502 processor core allows the physical chip specification, but adds new instructions. And so here's actually plugged in. Here's a HDMI cable. Here's a power slot. We have a radio transceiver over here. There's some various ports. Here's a keyboard port. That's the DCN. There's a SD slot. So, and there's stereo sound. So there's lots of cool things there. Modular design allows a hobbyist to integrate it into custom keyboards, miniaturized cases, and development boards. So he has created multiple keyboard variants, including one based on 65XE layout, another using UART interface with microcontroller-based scanning. System also supports connections to modern peripherals through Wi-Fi or Ethernet modules. There you go. Of course, Atari was big in the 80s and 90s in Poland, which is kind of where he got his idea. So that's exciting. Of course, if you want to help support the channel, you can do so over at switchedtolinux.com/support. And with that, we are going to wrap up the show feeding the kitties. If I can find a kitty, it looks like the kitty bed is a little empty. Hey, kitty, kitty, you want some kitty cat? Want some kitty cat food? Come on, come on, kitty, come on. There you go. Yeah. Come on, kitty. Come here, buddy. All right, so now we will hang out and watch comments as long as you guys want to record some comments. All right, so I just stopped the recording of the stream. So after we are done, I'm going to do some audio processing on that, and then I will go ahead and get that up, and hopefully we will have thumbnails by then. So, well, as long as that cat's going to stand there, I'll go ahead and let him stand there. Looks like he's going to move. I'll go ahead and switch back to the other screen again. Alrighty, let's see what we got. And checking in over on Matrix first. Elite L33T, I guess. Oh boy. So Cheesecake's over there saying, "Oh boy" to me. Oh boy, what did I do? What did I do? Oh yeah, Matrix chat's going crazy right now. Oh boy, this could take me a while. All right, let me look at our Matrix chat. I don't want to deal with 3-letter agencies anymore. Just oh man. Take issue with the allegations. What happened to the innocent till proven guilty? I see of a micro guy. It's a nano. A saint. Sorry. Oh boy. Okay. Anything worth watching, I buy on DVD or Blu-ray anyway. Put it up on the Jellyfin server. There you go. Copilot, open host file, and edit. Run as administrator. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. That's right. I wouldn't be asking your Copilot to do any modifications on your stuff there. So there's, oh, look at that. The cat teleported. Look at that, folks. The kitty teleports. All right. No, in Europe, it's a surge in interest in Linux, LibreOffice, etc. Yep. Okay, we need to be able to spy on our people without Americans. That's right. Definitely takes active effort to avoid using the big services. Use Nextcloud locally. Yeah, that's the thing is it does take active. We need to stop being so lazy in this country that we can actually sit down and legitimately do a lot of these things. So that's certainly a point. Disroot gets some love there. Yep, yep. Tried to register a few times. Always got the break or whatever nonsense. First non-gov organization that acts like a government. Free tier option to buy additional perks. Yep. Samsung is going with Perplexity. Yep. Samsung and Motorola. No, they can't run things for free, but it's nice if I can see something would work for me without spending a ton of money. Yeah, I was looking at that for a client today. Support via Patreon. Yeah, you can support me via Patreon too. Ooh, yeah. Patreon.com/TOMM. We take super chats too. All right, Perplexity just started pretty good. Focused on scientific data and actual good information, but now they're just focused on grabbing all of your data and making money. Don't forget that making money part. 100%. Now they're working on a browser of their own. Yep. Going to beat CCleaner browser. There you go. And remember the Flock browser. You can clone yourself. There you go. Clone already exists on Google Cloud. Will activate the next Gemini migrates Google to the quantum computer. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Google Smart feature thing is enabled already. Went through and disabled it. Windows broke secure boot? That's not a bug, it's a feature. I know, right? Excuse me, there's people running systems on here that aren't Windows. We can't collect data that way. Kill that secure boot. Can't be the only one who just disables the insecure secure boot for the sake of sanity. Yeah, I do. I do. Match based on browsing data. What if I got no browsing data? Perplexity. Care about my browsing data is God. I'll have to think about that. Just cleared my history and cache. What a mess to get my browser apps to work again. Yep. FTP 21 is, yeah, FTP is 21. I think FTP is 20. I think SFTP is 21. Am I right about that? I don't know. I forget. What's SSH? SSH 22, I think. Real Steel's futuristic take on the Rocky. Yeah, I love Real Steel. That's a really good movie. Apparently, a majority of teenagers have no idea how to read an analog clock. That is correct. Okay, I'll be okay with that. Effectively, all Type-C would become Thunderbolt. No, only the USB Type-C, USB 4 ports would be Thunderbolt. You could have a USB-C 3, which does not have to have the Thunderbolt. Yeah, I have 3 USB-C ports on a laptop. Only one can handle data. Only one can handle data? That's weird. Yeah, that's what they're trying to solve. Other laptop has 0 USB-C ports, and they all handle data transfer. Interesting. Actual intelligence would be a lot faster than artificial. Yep. Did you put those kitties on a diet? The one of them did get a lot thinner. I don't know if he's in the process of leaving the planet, or if he's just eating less or whatever else. FTP 21, SSH 22. No, SFTP's SSF. Really? I did not think SSH and SFTP shared the same port. Am I wrong about that? Really? Huh. I'm looking at here. No, yeah, you're right. SFTP and SSH share the same port. Look at that. Fun. All right. Yeah, so SFTP and SSH. I just booted up FileZilla to look. And indeed, that is the case. Yep. All right, let's jump on over to Rumble. 13 over there on Rumble. The bag phone was just a car phone packed into a bag. Remember those Lincolns? Yep. I had a flip phone in 94. Okay. It's all there. We got 11 currently watching over on Odyssey, wherever an Odyssey is. Okay. There we are. Okay. Democracy equals rule of the mob. There you go. And that is exactly why America is not a democracy. Founding fathers did not want the rule of the mob. Believe it or not, technically the first smartphone was from 97, but marketing wasn't good enough. Yeah, I saw information about that. That was neat. Fixed my secure boot a long time ago. Turned it off. I uploaded my browser data, and the only compatible match was a very large woman from the FBI with handcuffs. Oh, God. She's black, too. Uh-oh. CDC is a privately owned corporation. Wouldn't be surprised if Google goes for "We are evil, deal with it" motto. Oh, dear. That was a better Indian accent this time. Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Come again. Meg Foster was still very good looking. She had a unique shade of blue color. How come you don't do this weekly live talk with the other guys anymore? So it was just a matter of nobody watched it, and it added an extra amount of time. So we just hang out for a while offline. So I don't know. It would be fun to come on and do more discussions with other people. That would be really fun. It's just, I just haven't pursued looking into it, honestly. But yeah, we just kind of decided, and the reason is we were getting less than 1,000 people watching the live ones with everybody else in there, and so it just I just didn't want to spend some time doing something that very, very few people watched. All right, over on ZTubies, we got 43 watching now. A few people left when the news finished out. Looks like we peaked out at what today? Looks like we peaked out about 65 today, so not horrible. I run Ubiquity in front of my Starlink. I run my own rules. DNS, basically my ISP, feeds my router. Yeah, I did. I ran the Starlink into my whole network here for that test, and it worked out pretty well. And like Starlink, the longer the dish is out, the better, the more stable it becomes. So that's actually cool. And even where I tested it, there were still a lot of trees. It was fairly obstructed still, but it still worked pretty well. The upload was a little lower than I would like, but I think it could potentially maintain a stream. So I am going to test it out. And can I afford to buy DVD movies? I can always download public domain movies. The movies are still good. keep it under the servers offline. Old movies are better. Yeah, some old movies are better. Some of the old movies are better. Very few of the new movies I think are really good. But there are still a lot of movies still in copyright that are amazingly good. So yeah, I actually just bought a few movies because I need to throw a few more things in my cart for free shipping. So I was like, yeah, I'll throw a couple movies in there. Imagine downloading large ISO file. They use AI to guess the size of the pipe. And if the size is similar to those torrent, then he's taking them to court over pirating. Yikes. It takes a big issue with allegations. What happened to innocent until proven guilty? Let's see. You can still mod the host file on Windows. However, the file gets corrupted and will see back to default. How am I not surprised? Looks like we'll need alternatives. Hello, KO2610. Greetings. To Linux, let's kick spies out. Yep. Send you YouTube video and email in the servers to compromise. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's I did see one of them land in my feed. I just didn't get a chance to watch it yet. So yeah, that's one I wanted to watch. Thanks. Fabrico, I don't want a Facebook snooping on my life where I need more private, cryptographic, closed, only known guests, closed social network profiles. Yeah. Just started learning NeoVim. There you go. Logan Caval, greetings to you. Yay, disroot. All right. Don't forget to like the video, everyone. Thank you. I'm very uninterested in this AI slop. Amen to that. Does this include the Gmail web browser? I have no idea. Talking about the dead internet, you should do a video on the offline internet. Really interesting. Maybe you can get a sponsor for a NAS to do it. All right, let's see. Just found out my sister bought a new Epson printer. It requires the internet to photocopy or function at all. And once the ink subscription came, the whole thing became a brick 1 year later. Epson did that too? You hear this? You hearing this, Dan? You hearing this, Dan? Epson? No. Fire. Tom on Fire needs to make a comeback. Tom on Fire will never make a comeback. Never, I tell you, never. All right, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. Let's see. I just don't plan when I'm going on fire, so, you know. Map the button to, I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. Yeah, that Google Smart feature thing is enabled already when I disabled it. All of this started with advertising. Advertising has always been a parasite from the very beginning. The parasite has become the host. Yep. Does the War Thunder community release any more military secrets recently? Ooh. Shh. I'll tell you, but it's a secret. Now's a good reason to dump System D and move to other initialization systems. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to send me compelling reasons to not use System D. I've asked for it many times. Nobody's ever sent me compelling reasons. Don't worry, it's encrypted. Microsoft Pinky Promise. That's right. It's encrypted with the key that's in our drive. Fingerprint is secure until your finger goes missing or someone swabs the surface you just touched and produces a copy. Yep. My browser history is in between me and my browser. There you go. Only one who can ask about my browsing data is God. There you go. What if the real world isn't binary and cannot be expressed in binary terms? What if it's octonary? How intelligent would AI be then? There you go. We use text-to-speech software on Linux. Bible software using LLMs? Oh, dear. Would I? I mean, I don't know. I might use some text-to-speech. It depends on my application. Dude, would you stop? Thank you. All right. Let's see. I was getting that stupid thing pop up on my comments. I couldn't read anything. The idea that had to build an operating system to assemble languages. The problem with sandboxing like VMs is breakout code. Yep. Look at that beard, man. It's epic. Yeah, I decided I could keep it trimmed, and when it's trimmed, it's not annoying. It was when it gets all huge and like massive, it gets super annoying, so I don't like it. So I actually found I can trim it with my clippers and keep it. So I'll keep it for a while. Although it's so stinking hot right now, I don't know. I might just shave it off for the coolness factor. I don't know. Add that co-pilot to the humanoid robot so it could record your daily life. I don't want to imagine that. That's terrifying. Klarna will pay the workers minimum wage. Yep. Bender's favorite vices. Booze and... yeah. I'll finance my burger. Yes, I will finance my burger in 4 easy payments. Weird, but MS is right. I know, right? It's weird. Ran across a broken analog clock while I was waiting to get blood work done for a doctor's appointment. Yep. Was it also swag from a drug company? There you go. I hate the USB cables that look like normal cables but turn out to be charging only. Yeah. It was up a wall of blood drawing room. Uh-oh. Not the only one. I hate not knowing what USB cable supports just by looking at it. I have no idea. I mean, I have a few small ones that I imagine are data only or on like charging only, but I cannot say I've tested many of my USB cables for data transfer. So lesser of two evils. Yeah. Many USB-C cables are stuck at USB 2 slow charge with the same C to A adapters like the one that came with my Google Pixel A. AI air fryers that don't have any microchips? What? Okay, the advancement of wafer scaling 4 nanometers. You could take entire systems from all machines and put them on a single die. There you go. EOS just got 3.00 release. That's interesting. FTP is 21. FTP is 20 for control, 21 for data. SSH is 22. Yeah, SSH and SFTP, yes, do use 22. Earth makes you think it's innocent until proven guilty. Wait, what? The case, we wouldn't be putting innocent people in jail until we proved them guilty. Well, but there's a difference between when somebody is arrested, you're catching them in the midst of it. This is what the purpose of is. You go in for your bond hearing. Now, some things are immediate bond outs. Some things you hold, but they need to collect the bond to make sure you're not just going to run away. Will you and Lunduk do a live stream? I have no idea. Lunduk. Did a video on fork of X.org that is non-DEI. Oh, nice. I'll gladly finance it for 2 years for a hamburger today. Go with the ramen. Well, come on. What if I need to put my ramen on Klarna? What do you think Bazite Linux for beginners? I have never looked at Bazite Linux. Should I look at Bazite Linux? Okay. Cheap Brother Red cards from Amazon today, and they work fine. Yep. Very cool. All right, let me check in on Matrix. It looks like we're going to wrap this up very shortly. Then I am going to do a patch up to the file there. Okay, there's that. Yeah, so I'm going to patch the audio, and then I'm going to upload the audio, and hopefully I have the timestamps ready to go, and we'll get that up, and then I think we'll go back to unlisting this one again. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to unlist the actual stream, and then put a link to the actual stream to the longer version in this one. So if someone wants to see the whole end of the comments. But basically, I recorded everything up until after we fed the cats. So that's where we are at. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We will catch you guys next time.